1280 KIT, the morning news. David Lance, Jackson, and you. And as advertised, Captain Jay Seely joins us. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you doing today?
We're good. Glad to have you in. A lot of people talking to us anecdotally off air, some on, about how weird it must have been with a machete-wielding person of less than stable deportment down at the Home Depot. And yet the behavior of the crowd was as much that people are talking about. Were you on the scene, or did you hear about it?
I was not. No, we were getting briefed as it was unfolding. There was a lieutenant on the scene that was overseeing and managing that scenario, and the chief and I were being briefed in real time as it was unfolding.
Are you in like a room, with video screens or something?
Like the Situation Room in the basement.
Okay, take him under arrest now. Get that
Actually,
guy in
I
the
was
left.
at my home.
Here's your home. So, does that surprise you? I mean, is that an understatement? Have you ever seen anything like this before? Kind of bring us to what, as far as you know, what happened. Bring us to the scene. What was going on?
Well, as that event was unfolding, it was a prolonged event because we were de-escalating the situation, and that takes time, and so that spread out over about 4 hours.
And you guys do that because you want to slow things down.
Absolutely. We don't want to accelerate the situation. We want to slow everything down, use time, distance, and shielding, and help this person or anybody that's suffering some type of crisis make good decisions. We don't want to rush the event, and we certainly don't want them to make a bad decision. And it doesn't help when the public is trying to coax them into making a bad decision and rush at the police, which would then obviously cause us to react. And you asked me, have I seen this before? Generally, we have onlookers. Everybody wants to know kind of what's going on. I have not experienced this where somebody has tried to coax somebody into making a bad decision and provoke us. And it's odd to me that we actually had parents with their small children there. And I'm not quite sure what those parents were hoping their children would witness. I guess I would ask the parents, what were you wanting your child to see? That to me is disappointing. And I'll tell you, I think in my mind, this is a community failure. And I think there's room for improvement.
Yeah, to say the least.
I concur. Yeah, that's really weird. Was it as big a crowd as they said, 100 people maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of folks.
Yeah, there was.
We talked to an individual whose vehicle was compromised by the circumstance. He couldn't get in and drive away. And he talked about, it was frustrating waiting around, finally got a ride from somebody else come get him. Would these people have been trying to expedite so they could leave, or was this just true gawkers?
And that would be pure speculation on my part as to what their motive was. And we apologize that the gentleman's vehicle was trapped. There was probably many vehicles that were trapped in there.
I'm sure there were.
But again, I'll say this again, the preservation of life and the de-escalation technique, the public may be inconvenienced. But that's what they expect from us. I don't think they want us to rush us into this scene and provoke a violent encounter. So I apologize that the vehicle was trapped in there, and I wish we could have got it out sooner. And I'm sure Home Depot wanted us out of their parking lot a lot sooner, too. I know that affected their business for 4 hours. So.
They don't need the publicity. They're named every time there's a location of the incident given, and nobody needs that sort of publicity, right?
Right.
So do we have an update on the individual, or do we know? Are they in custody, in the hospital, mental, drug? What can we know about that?
Yeah. So on the scene, we brought with us a mental health professional to help us navigate through that and help that individual. And then we took him to the Memorial Hospital where he was cleared, and he was actually suffering from substance abuse. And then he was eventually booked into the city jail for brandishing a dangerous weapon and obstruction.
Wow. Okay.
How old?
Yeah.
He's a 32-year-old. He's a former gang member in Yakima, and he's currently transient.
Okay. That gives us a clear picture. But we see this going back to last summer, people interfering with police, this whole dumping water on police officers when they're trying to do their jobs, and all the different sorts of interactions with police in a negative fashion, showing either disrespect for them and what they're trying to do, or, achieve status within their community by being someone who stood up to police, or I'm not sure what it is, but there's definitely something negative taking place around the country. And yet at the same time, we're also hearing all these cries about defunding police. how do you square that? I mean, we're Yakima, we don't have to deal with it per se, but we got a little peek at it the other day.
Well, it's very troubling. It's very troubling. You're starting to see more assaults on officers. You're seeing more violent encounters. You're seeing mass shootings across the country up 73%. You're seeing violent crime across the country going up. I think we're in for some troubling times. I really do.
Wow.
Well, Lance, would you, knowing that there's a defund effort, I mean, you've got all this pent-up rage and this huge, armory of weaponry.
He's laughing.
No, what I'm saying is, normal people don't just flip a switch and start doing this stuff, do they? I mean, is this just more Well, we've heard that a small percentage did most of the crimes, right? Are we seeing a small percentage being even more visible, or are we seeing more people, for one reason or another, drug into negative behavior? I wonder.
Well, my belief is it's a small percentage that are acting out and that are confronting police officers and trying to do their best to interfere with an officer during their daily activities. I agree. Again, I agree with you. I think by and large here in Yakima, we have a large public support. The public supports us. We work well with the community. We partner with the community, albeit the Home Depot incident certainly didn't feel like we were partnering together. But I think that's an anomaly, and I'm hoping that'll never happen again.
I notice. I want to say, if it's not Home Depot, I want to say it's Lowe's, but I know that there's one at Fred Meyer. I see these trailers now. They're like security trailers with cameras in the middle of the parking lot. Yeah. What's that? What are that? Is that just the store, or is it hooked to the police department? How do those work?
Yeah, no, those belong to the store, and those are just a deterrent, and they're obviously helping the store out. That is not a police department piece of equipment. Okay.
Well, we can feel a little bit better, I guess, that at least the store is taking extra caution, with in the parking lots. You see all this, and I was, before you came here, I said, geez, 6 months ago we asked you about, whether you'd want to push your son into this business, and you said no. But yet we see young officers coming into the Yakima Police Department about every month. We see a new one maybe coming on. What is the incentive for these guys to come on when in face of what's going on in America today? Do you think? Do you talk to them?
Well, we do talk to them, and a lot of them just have that drive and that passion to get into public service, and they really want to do it, regardless of what's happening nationwide. They still want to do it. But I think you also see the flip side. You see a lot of officers leaving that may not have left the profession. We lost a lot of officers last year. And the officers are young officers right in the middle of their career. And then that was unheard of. In my time, once you got hired, you were so lucky to get hired that you would stay until the bitter end. And we're just not seeing that right now.
Yeah. Routine traffic stops. You shouldn't be armed. When you it hear that kind of stuff, it just must shake your head, All right. Here's something I've been thinking about. I would think that officers around the country are on edge, given what's happened in routine traffic stops. How do we act when we're pulled over? What would you like us to do that would keep us all safe?
The number one thing that I would ask people to do if you were pulled over is just keep your hands on the steering wheel, politely engage with the officer. They should politely engage with you. If not, then that's an issue that we can take care of as supervisors. But the engagement should be very polite. It shouldn't be a confrontation. And as long as you keep your hands on the steering wheel, because again, you're right, officers are on edge. Traffic stops can turn violent in an instant. We've seen video after video of officers losing their lives during traffic stops.
Some TV news programs said 13% of officer shootings take place during traffic stops. But officers get shot.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you just saw what happened in San Antonio, where the officer pulled the car over, and both occupants started shooting at the officer, and he returned fire. And they're very dangerous. So again, I would just say, roll the window down, engage with the officer, keep your hands up, and if you're going to reach into your glove box, just say, I'm going to reach into my glove box and grab my license or my registration or whatever you have in there, and the encounter will be fine.
When you pull up my information, anyone's information, does it tell you I'm a concealed carrier?
It does not. I would have to look for that. Dispatch can look at that for us. But no, when I run your driver's license, I just see your driving status.
Do you want to know I'm a concealed carrier?
Yes.
Does it matter to you? Or should I just, in case, if it's not an issue, if you're not pulling me over for that, do I even need to say anything?
No, you don't. But it would be nice to know that. If I'm approaching your car, of course I would like to know that if you have a weapon, because how do I know you're not having one of your worst days of your life and something just happened before I stopped you?
So how do I let you know that?
Yeah, I would just say it. Just so you know, officer, I'm carrying a weapon. I have a concealed weapons permit, and produce it. When you produce your driver's license, produce your concealed weapons permit. And that's how you have that encounter in a positive manner.
I don't know that there are stats on this, but I would bet dollars to donuts that if anybody said that, the chances of them being involved in a shooting incident with the police are got to be dang near zero. I mean, responsible gun owners that take that extra step and do that, they're not somebody that's going to, later throw down or something. That's got to be almost, a relief to know. Hey, you walk up and you see the butt of a gun sticking out from under my coat, and I don't say anything.
Yeah. Thank you,
man.
I would definitely say something to you, and I would identify that I see it. And I've had encounters where people said, "Officer, just so you know, I'm carrying, but I have a concealed weapons permit." Perfect. That's your right. I have no issue with that.
Yeah.
But if I, like you, if I just happen to see the butt of a gun sticking out and you don't address that, I'll address that for you.
Yeah, I hope so. 7:28. We're talking to Captain Jay Seely of the Yakima Police Department. A couple minutes left. Is there anything that you said, you're driving down here and you'd be like, I want to say this today? This is the message. Because
I've got another question before you give them the
go
podium.
ahead. Yeah,
well, and that's training. I mean,
Yeah.
we've read that there's probably been close to a dozen incidents across the country on I've got the wrong weapon. I've got my gun, not my taser, that we saw in this most recent shooting.
Oh, good, yeah.
The amount of time that you guys follow that same procedure, weak hand gets the taser, and all of that, and how much time do you practice? How different do they feel when they're in your hand? What can you tell us about all of that?
So certainly, we put the taser on the offhand side, and so we cross draw that. So you're still going to most likely draw that with your dominant hand, but it's going to be cross draw. You're going to have to go get that. We qualify once a year with them. They do feel different. Obviously, the weight of a pistol is much different than the plastic taser.
Of course, when you're adrenalized and in the moment, your sensory deprivation kind of kicks in, and I mean, I'm amazed at the lack of awareness that people can have, that the most basic stuff, but when it's on, how tunnel vision people get, and you can't tell if something weighed 100 pounds or 10 pounds, and all of those kinds of things, right?
Well, and you're making decisions in fractions of a second. And remember, a lot of the people that are judging these officers are judging them from the comfort of their home, behind their desk, and their recliner. And I'm telling you, having been in 2 lethal force encounters myself, the decisions you make in fractions of a second, it happens very quickly. And I can tell you that it's extremely stressful, and you're basically fall back on your training. Again, I wasn't there when the lady conducted that and shot that gentleman, but I will tell you that the decisions come rather quickly.
Is once a year enough training, given that kind of thing, and the fact that a couple of other people have been shot in the past, other parts of the country? Is that enough?
Well, I think it's arguable. I think you could say that maybe we should do that twice a year. We qualify once a year. We train 4 times a year with our pistols, and we qualify once a year with our pistols.
Yeah, I think maybe people think that there's a lot more going on. It's like when I'm not running you down, I'm at the range fine tuning. It's not that way, is it?
And here's what I hope happens out of this: is I hope the knee-jerk reaction is, well, let's just take all the tasers away from the police officers, because that's usually what we see when something happens. And I'm telling you, as we continue to take tools away from officers, you leave the officers with nothing but go hands-on or lethal force. There is nothing in between.
Yeah.
And that is an unintended consequence every time we have a knee-jerk reaction to start taking tools away.
I can't imagine. I mean, you see these city councils voting, hey, no tear gas, no pepper spray, no rubber bullets. It's like, all right, so just throw me in the middle of a giant crowd and wish me good luck.
Yes. Yeah.
Insane.
Wow.
All right, now back to the podium. Back to the
And I just, as you leave us, the message is from Jay Seely.
The message is this. Today is Monday. We're starting fresh. We're going to have a fantastic week.
That's right.
I don't want to be the Debbie Downer on Monday.
Right on.
Everybody's going to have a fantastic week this week. In Yakima, we're going to get better.